I'm just going to wait a few more minutes for a few more people to show up. There's one person watching. Hi, one person watching. Two people watching. Hello. Feel free to say hi so I know who you are. That'd be lovely. Hi, Amy. Evening. It is the evening. Do. Scratching my nose. Just going to give it enough time for a few more people to tune in. And then when we put the video up later, I will edit out this bit of me waffling. Nice army of minions. Aren't they awesome? And do you know what's really scary? This isn't all of my minions. This is a lot of my minions. These are the minions that appear best on camera. These are the most photogenic of my minions. How are we doing, guys? Yeah, they're doing good. Let's give it another minute and we'll kick off. I'm not fetching all of my minions. In fact, they're all doing minionese jobs for me at the moment. Oh, someone came and they left straight away. I'm not sure how to feel about that. They saw my face and they ran. Makes sense. Give it just a little bit longer and I will kick off. Finches for UK. Hi, Corey. How you doing, buddy? Corey, I nearly put a picture up on the chair over here, and then I decided maybe that'll be too much, considering you already appeared in my blog last week as Chewbacca. Ba, 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 da, ba, ba. Okay, we will kick off. Welcome to our live Q&A. I have no idea how this is going to go. It might just be me talking to myself or just a couple of you. It might be you lambast me with questions and I'll be flattened against the wall here with nothing but minions to revive me. That's okay. These are all my minions. Bill, Bob, Dave, Lucy, Terrence, forgotten, Freddie. Is it Freddie? Yes, Freddie and Tim too. Those are all my minions. And it is lovely to be here with you. The way this is going to work is I'm going to try and answer as many questions that you have as possible in about 30 minutes max. You can ask questions on the live chat. However, a few of you have sent me questions already that you didn't want to appear live, and that's absolutely fine. So I have a few questions that you've sent me, which we'll kick off with in a minute. But I do want you to be able to ask questions live. Just a few things rules-wise. I'm just wiping spit off my computer. There it is. I'm going to try and answer as many as I can, but please do remember to be respectful of me, respectful of each other. If you ask me nicely, I'll answer nicely. If you speak to me like a jerk, I might talk to you like a jerk. Probably won't, because I'm a lovely person, and I'm sure you are too. But let's be respectful on here. It'd be good to interact with me. Don't just troll each other. That'd be lovely. And it'd be great if you didn't use that as an advertising platform. If you're selling Nucola, this probably isn't the place to advertise that. So those are all my rules, and I'm assuming you're all smiling and nodding happily. So what I'll do is I'll start off with, I'll pick a question out that I've been sent, and then if you've got a question in mind, feel free at any time to add it to the chat, and I'll have a go at answering that as well. So I've not had a proper look at these yet. Joe, I have seen this one because I put this one up on Instagram and Facebook before as a prep answer. And that question is, could God have created aliens? Could God have created aliens? This is a brilliant question. Of course, look, the minions right here. There they go. They're not human. They're aliens. No, let's try again. Could God have created aliens? So has he created life on other planets? Has he done what he's done here with us somewhere else? And it's a really good question. So thank you so much for sending that in. In one sense, I want to say, sure. There's nothing in the Bible talking about other planets in that sense. There's nothing in the Bible prohibiting God being as creative as he wants wherever he wants. Of course, God could have created aliens. Maybe they're out there somewhere. I'm inclined to think he probably didn't. And there's a couple of reasons for that. First off, the Bible doesn't mention aliens, but it does talk about the whole universe being his dramatic backdrop for one important story. And it's the love story between God and humans. It's the redemption story, God creating the world, creating us as people, his people, sending Jesus to save and redeem us. It's the backdrop for that story. And in the same way, if you watched, I don't know, Gone in 60 Seconds, which is all about car thieving, and for 5 minutes in the middle, it took off over here and followed the story of a pizza vendor, it'd just be a little weird to have like a second random story in there. I think God made the world to be about this story, to be about us and him, and the whole universe is the backdrop for that. So I think it's unlikely he made aliens. And thinking about the numbers, I think it'd be very, very unlikely that life exists anywhere else. It's incredible. It's actually a miracle that life exists here. So I don't think God made aliens personally, but hey, not a problem for me if he did. So that's my first answer to the question, did God create aliens? No one's put another question up yet, so I'll go to another pre-existent one. I'm quite happy as well if you want to add anything in answer to these questions on the live chat. If it's nice and respectful and helpful, I'll read it out because I'm lovely like that. Or I'll get one of my minions, probably Freddie, to read it out. Freddie's got the best reading voice. Haven't you, Freddie? See? So, does God read my mind? Does God read my mind? I'm going to see if I can read your mind right now. You ready? It didn't work. It's an interesting question. We think about mind reading like staring at someone and trying to bore a hole into their psyche and pull out some thoughts and guess the sentence they're thinking. I don't think God reads minds like that, but it does say that God knows every thought of our heart. God knows every single thing, everything we think and feel, every hair on our heads. So I don't think God reads our minds, but I think he knows us completely. He knows what's in your head. But the most important thing is, I'm going to quote a song to you, a song called Indescribable, is he sees the depths of my heart and he loves me the same. So God does see everything. He knows everything about you, but he absolutely loves you. So he's not out there creepily reading your mind, but he does know you inside and out and loves you. If there's stuff up there that you're a bit ashamed of, he still loves you. And he sees it and he loves you. I have a question here. Oh, fantastic. Amy, thank you very much. The question is, when someone is faced with overwhelming loss and grief, how can they still believe in God? And it's a really important question right now. Every day we're seeing new statistics on who's died in the world due to the coronavirus. And it is a tragic time. Bereavement, losing someone close and special to us, is a real thing that we have to face. I want to say a few things to this. First off, God knows the reality of our hearts. He does read our minds in that sense. He knows how we feel. And God doesn't come to you and say, chin up, bucko, and get over it. God wants you to go through the process of grief, and that might involve rage. It might involve denial. It might involve all kinds of things that you're going to go through. God is not going to stop you processing the things you have to process. I think that's really important. And somehow belief in God at that time might look different. Belief in God when everything is happy and chirpy looks different to belief in God when everything's rough. You hold on to different parts of his character. What I will say to you is, in the middle of a time like that, look for one or two truths about God and cling on to those. God is faithful. He will always be with you. Just cling on to that. God will be with you in heaven. When all this is done with, you will be with him forever. Cling on to that. I think when the world is rocky, our faith gets rocky too. Of course it does. But rather than trying to conjure up a faith that existed when everything was well, just try to cling on to one or two things about who God is and let those get you through. It is worth saying It says in the Bible in Psalm 23 that in the middle of the valleys of life, in the middle of the most rubbish parts of life, God is with you. He walks with you. Some of you will know the poem Footsteps, where we die and we look back over our life and we see the two sets of footsteps. God is walking with us, and at times it feels like God's footsteps disappear and it's just one set of footsteps. And you know, the end of that poem is God says, at those times I was carrying you. So sometimes in the middle of loss and grief, it feels like God's not there and it feels like we're losing our faith, but I don't believe that's true. He carries us through those times. So know that he doesn't lose faith in you and cling on to one or two things about his character. That's a great question. That's quite a long answer. I've got a thumbs up. That's normally a good sign. I'm going to read another question from my phone, unless anyone wants to throw one up on here. This is another one someone sent me, which is I put up online today, which is, how does God take his tea? That's a very British question. Well done. I have no idea how God takes his tea. But you know what? When you go to heaven, you can ask him that question. God, I would like to make you a cup of tea. How do you take it? And you'll find out if he's a milk and sugar guy or if he's like me and prefers green tea or fruit tea. Oh, that's a good question. Someone's just PM'd me this question. What if someone who bullied me is in heaven? Oh, so you're getting bullied at school and we die and we go to heaven, we find out that bully is there. Oh, that's a cracking question, because on the surface, that doesn't feel right, because justice demands that people who do bad stuff should be treated badly. There's no reason why any of you should ever have read Plato's Republic, but that's the very first 2 pages, is surely justice demands that people who treat you badly should be treated badly in return. They shouldn't get a present for it. They shouldn't go to heaven. I want to say a few things. First off, bullies suck. Bullying is just wrong. It's hideous and horrible in every single way. I know there's always an element of truth in the fact that bullies are often victims of bullies themselves. And I think it is important to look beyond that. But if you're the victim of bullying, all you can think of is it hurts and they keep coming against me. And I think that's fair. Now, what the Bible says is no one is fit to go to heaven on their own merits, their own goodness. No one, not even me, not even you. And I'm ginger, which puts me a head above you. No, it doesn't. It doesn't. I really shouldn't have said that. Edit. Remember nothing. Anyway, but where was I? No one is good enough to get to heaven, and you will get to heaven. I will get to heaven, despite of all the silly things we've done, even maybe some of the inadvertent bullying we've done and weren't even aware of it. So God saves us all the same. When we were far off, when we were his enemies, he met us in his son Jesus. He died for my sin, but that also means he dies for the sins of anyone who says yes to him. Anyone who says yes to Jesus, anyone that says yes to Jesus gets to meet Jesus. And that's the story. But the great thing about that is it means we can know him too. But I will say the bully in heaven won't be the same as the bully you know now. When we get to heaven, we'll be all changed beyond recognition. We'll be the best that we can be. And that bully will also be transformed into so much more. It's a really good question. Thank you very much for asking that. I have another question here. What do you think Jesus's favorite Easter egg is? I think Jesus's favorite Easter egg is clearly the Cadbury's cream egg. Now, bear with me. The Cadbury's cream egg must be Jesus' favorite Easter egg for 2 reasons. First off, it's Trinitarian. There is chocolate and there's a white gooey bit and a yellow gooey bit, but it's one egg. See? Trinity. And the second one is, even though it's one thing and it doesn't change, we all kind of experience it a different way. How do you eat yours? For instance. So there you go. That's a terrible answer to what is Jesus' favorite Easter egg. Any other questions coming online, or should I keep going with my list? I'm getting thumbs up for the Jesus' favorite Easter egg. That's terrible. Okay, this is a This is a great one. And I guess this is usually the question I get asked first when I go into classrooms, which is, why do you believe in God? Why do you actually believe in God? It's a really fair question. I always get a bit grumpy with this because sometimes I feel like, like that's like someone asking me, why are you married to your wife? Well, because I love her and I know her and she's proved herself to me time and time again. But I guess you don't know my wife and you don't know God. So it makes sense that you'd ask that. So why do you believe in God? I'm going to give you 4 answers to this. I'm going to be as quick as I can. But I'm going to give you an answer from history, an answer from philosophy, an answer from science, an answer from personal experience. This is going to be amazing. This is a 4-part answer to this question. First off, answer from history. Well, because of Jesus. Jesus Christ came and he revealed God to us. And Jesus was weird. He did miracles and he also rose from the dead. And if you want, ask me in a minute about evidence for the resurrection, because I really believe it's good science to believe that Jesus really did rise from the dead. So Jesus came and he lived, he revealed God to us, he rose from the dead, he did all these miracles, he proved he was bigger than nature, and he started this incredible movement, which is still the most influential movement in all of history. So number 1, I believe in God because Jesus showed him to me. Number 2, an answer from science. Oh, my watch will come in handy here. If you were walking down a beach and you found a rock, you go, that's a rock. Interesting. There's lots of those. But if you found my watch on the beach, you'd go, someone probably made that. You wouldn't assume it just happened by chance. Let's take it further. If I took this watch and placed it into a bag and then smashed it with a hammer into 1 billion pieces, and then took that bag and walked to Llandudno Beach and sprinkled half of it in to the ocean, got on a plane, flew to California, where my wife's from, and sprinkled the other half of it in the waters in California. And in Llandudno Beach and California Beach, my pieces of watch got eaten by different fish, and they got eaten by different fish. And eventually all those fish were eaten by a shark, and then that shark swims to Colwyn Bay Beach and vomits, and out of that vomit you're walking by and you see the shark vomit, and inside that vomit of the shark was my watch, not only perfectly intact but also clean and miraculously telling the right time. All those crazy sequences of events is still more likely, mathematically, scientifically, more likely than life existing in this universe, than you existing. It's more likely because everything you need for that to happen already exists. So scientifically, the world demands a creator. You don't look at this and go, it's probably random, smashed up and vomited by a shark. You go, someone made that. Someone held on to all those pieces. So that's my answer from science. I believe in God because I look at the world and go, someone made this. Someone made all this ridiculous complexity. My answer from philosophy, this will be the most complicated one. I'll try and do it nice and quick. If I was to take this minion and place him on this table, there he is, and lock the room and leave the room for 50 years. In that time, there was no earthquake, no storm. I never entered the room. The room is locked. As far as I know, no one had come in. And I came in, and this minion was no longer here. He was here, and he had written on his face, Bob was here. I wouldn't assume that that happened accidentally. Things don't move on their own. Only 2 things can make something move. The first thing that can make something move is another moving thing. My arm is now moving. My arm can make things move. If I'm not the microphone, I'll move the microphone. If I'm not my phone, I'll move my phone. A moving thing can make another thing move. The other thing, the only other thing that can make something move is a mind. A mind, a thinky thing, like the thing that you've got. A mind can decide to move a hand. A mind can decide to move the phone. Now, if the room was locked, I assume, and nothing was randomly moving it, I'd assume someone broke it and probably called Bob and moved it. The fact is that the universe once upon a time began to move. And if you say the universe didn't have anything existing before it, once upon a time the universe didn't exist, then nothing was moving to make it move, which means the only thing that could have made it move was a mind, a thinky thing, a powerful, outside of time, outside of space mind, who I would call God. And of course you would too, because that's the definition of God, all powerful, all knowing. And so that's my argument from philosophy. I believe in God because a mind made this stuff happen. My fourth one is the argument from experience, which is I know Jesus. The more I've trusted myself to him, the more I've spent time with him, the more I've prayed, the more I've taken these leaps of faith and these steps of faith, I found that he's true. I found that he's answered prayer and he's really been with me. So from history, Jesus kind of proves it for me, just living and all the miracles he did. From science, I look around the world and I go, do you know what, someone made this? It's just much more plausible. From philosophy, things don't move on their own. They need a mind to move them. And when the first thing moved, the universe, a massive mind needed to have done it. And from experience, I've met and I've spent time with Jesus. So that's why I believe in God. I have another question here. How can I tell my friends about Jesus when they have never been to church? Oh, that's a great question. Thank you very much. I want to start off by saying, don't be weird. I know it's such a daft thing to say, but as Christians, sometimes we have human mode and Christian mode. Like there's Tim 5 days a week, 6 days a week, and then there's Tim on a Sunday, and they shouldn't be different people. Your friends shouldn't see a random you step out of yourself when you tell them about Jesus. Don't be weird. Talk about Jesus like you talk about other things in your life. If you love him, if you know him, if you want to spend time with him, then talking about him should be the same as talking about anything else that you love. Make it natural, make it normal. The second thing is don't overreach. Your job is not to prove to someone Jesus exists. Your job is just to show them Jesus. One of the things I love about Philip, one of Jesus's apostles in the Bible, is all we ever see him do is bringing people to Jesus. He says, oh, Jesus, yeah, he's like this. He's over here. And don't overreach. Your job isn't to prove anything. Just tell them about him. And the third thing I want to say, other than, don't be weird and just talk about Jesus, is make sure that your life is in line with what you're preaching. One of the weird things, one of the things the world finds unbelievable is not the message of Jesus. It's how Christians talk about love and acceptance, and then in the next step be, bullying or bashing their friends or whatever it might be. They just don't seem different. If the reality of Jesus fills your heart, then you should live out from that. So don't be weird, don't overreach, but also make sure your life lines up with it. And I'd always encourage you to start by telling your story. Start by saying, do you know what, this is how I got to know Jesus, and you can get to know him too. I'm going to go to another question that's just come on my phone. I can't read this one. Oh, that's good. What's heaven like, and won't I get bored? I get it now. What's heaven like, and won't I get bored? I don't believe for 1 second that you'll get bored in heaven. But you know what? When I think about heaven as a place, as just a physical, and I think it is. I think heaven is a place. But when I try to imagine it, my brain just can't handle it. And so I just imagine the best place I can. And sooner or later, that theme park gets boring. So I don't want to think about the place. I want to think about the person. My wife and I are stuck at home at the moment, like you probably are, but it's okay because I'm with her. And my wife and I have lived in some pretty dodgy flats since we've been married. We've been married 12 years. We've lived in 7 places. The first place we lived had no hot water, had mice everywhere, cost us a fortune to run it. It smelled, it was awful, but it didn't matter because I was with her. I could be anywhere with Katie, my wife. I would go through anything just to be with her. And it's the same thing with Jesus. Jesus loves you more than anyone possibly could. Jesus loves me even more than my wife does. Being with Jesus is even better than being with my wife. And I could be with him anywhere. And the Bible tells me I will be with him for all of eternity. And so I'm fine with that. I don't think I'll get bored because it's not about where I'll be. It's who I will be with. And I will be with him. Cool. I'm going to put 2 of these questions together. Amy's just asked, how can I get to know Jesus better? And that's a great question, but I'm going to ask this one with it. This one came a bit earlier. I missed it. How do I know that God is actually talking to me? And I think this is 2 parts of the same question. If you get to know Jesus better, you will know when he's talking to you. I imagine the thing is, when you're praying and you're scared, So when you're praying and you hear a voice, or you think you're hearing a voice, you're scared that maybe it's just you. Maybe you just made it up. Or you're scared that maybe it's the devil or something trying to lead you in a dodgy direction. And the first thing I want to say is don't panic. God is bigger, even if you mishear stuff. He still loves you. He's still got this. He still can tell you things a million times, because usually he's told you things a million times already and we've missed it. Don't worry if you're missing stuff. He's got patience with you. The second thing is, if you want to know anyone, you've got to get to know them better. When my phone rings and it's my mum, I know it's my mum before she says, "Hi, Tim, it's your mum." I recognize her voice. When Corey rings, I know it's Corey because he sounds Texan. He's only Texan, I know who calls me. When Katie, my wife, calls, I know it's her. I recognize her voice. And I know their voice because I've spent time with them. The more time you spend with God, the more time you read his Bible, the more time you spend with him reading his words, praying, being with other Christians, learning from teachers, the more you learn to recognize his voice. So I want to encourage you, if you want to know Jesus better, and if you want to know, oh, am I really hearing from him? Spend time with him. If you get it wrong, don't panic. He's with you. And I want to say as well, the devil can't come in and take control of you like a joystick. He can whisper lies, but God doesn't do that. God's not going to tell you, you're too fat to do that. You're too stupid to do that. That's probably the devil whispering lies, but he can't take control of you like a joystick and start saying, no, you're going to do that. It's just not how it works. So if you get it wrong, if you hear a voice and maybe it's you, don't worry about it. God's bigger than that. But I will say, if you want to get to know him better, if you want to recognize his voice more, spend more time with him. There's nothing better than spending time with Jesus. The more you do it, the easier it gets. We'll spend more time on that another time. I've got some other questions popping up here. What's your opinion on reincarnation? That's brilliant. Do you believe the Bible is against the idea of a soul being born into a new body? What a great question. Thank you very much, Luke. I believe in the incarnation. And what that means is, for one time only, God himself became human and walked among us in Jesus. I believe that Jesus died, and Easter Sunday tomorrow, he rose from the dead and he took on this new resurrection body. It wasn't a soul body hopping. He came to life with this new awesome body, and now he's in heaven waiting for the rest of us. So I don't believe in reincarnation. I don't think we'll come back to earth as something else, a butterfly or an elephant or another human. I believe instead we go to be with Jesus, and that's what it's all about. That's a brilliant question. Thank you. If God is holy and good, where did evil come from and originate from? Fantastic. Thank you very much. Well, first off, it's a great beginning. God is holy. He is holy and he is good. He loves people unconditionally. And we can't square the circle by going, he's only holy in these circumstances. He's always holy. He's always good. He never tells a lie. He always wants the absolute best for us. That is a fantastic place to begin. He is holy and he is good. And evil begins with us, because we're not holy. We're not good. Frankly, we're a bit stupid. When God said right at the beginning, hey, I've got this whole amazing creation for you to explore, one little rule, don't eat from that tree. What's the one thing we just couldn't help ourselves doing? Adam and Eve, they ate from the tree, bless them. So one thing they were told not to do, and they do it. And that's kind of what we do. Evil originates not from God, it originates from us. It originates with God saying, I'm giving you a rule to obey. Please don't break it. And what do? We break it. We can't help ourselves. I mean, humans, watchers, we just break things. But Jesus is a creator, not a breaker. God made stuff. We tend to pull things apart. Evil, sin, suffering, pain. I think it originates from us. I think it originates from that very first sin, but it originates from all of us. But it also means that because Jesus is a creator, he can still fix the problems in the world, and he wants us to get involved. It says in Revelation 22 that one day he will wipe every tear away. There'll be no more evil, no more cancer, no more coronavirus, no more sickness, no more death. We're not there yet, but we are going to get there. I think evil originates with us, not with God. What else we got? Do we go straight to heaven when we die? Oh, that's a great question. I think the answer is when we die, we go straight to be with Jesus. When Jesus is dying on the cross, he turns to the criminal on his left, on his right, and one of them says to him, please remember me when you come into your kingdom. And Jesus says, today, not next week, he says, today you'll be with me in paradise. So we go straight to be with Jesus. Whatever it looks like, we're going to go straight to be with him. There's a sort of a second stage later when heaven and earth come together and everything is made new. And I think we'll go with him if we're already dead. But I think that the main thing to remember is when we die, we go straight to be in paradise with Jesus. Shane says hi. Hi, Shane. I'll do a couple more. We'll call it. Has science disproved God? Do you know, it's a really good question. Has science disproved God? I think the answer is no. A couple of reasons for this. Some of the best scientists alive today are Christians, so you would have thought they would have figured it out. But science is not a religion. Science is not a worldview. It shouldn't be. Science is a method. The scientific method is how we test things. So if I was to take this glass candle thing and drop it 100 times and measure the speed and trajectory and displacement of forces when it hits my hand or hits the floor, that's doing science. That's repeatable, measurable, observable, and expressed through logic. That's a scientific method, something which is repeatable, measurable, observable, and expressed through logic. There's a whole range of things in the world that you can't prove or disprove with science. You can't prove or disprove love by taking an experiment. I can't take Kate and put her in a test tube and boil it. That won't prove whether she loves me or not. You can't prove mathematics that way. You can't actually prove science works using the scientific method, oddly enough. So science is a brilliant way to find truth, and I think we should love our science. But science does not disprove God. It's asking and answering a different question. What's your favorite hymn or worship song? Thanks, Amy. My favorite ever, it's maybe a modern hymn. And I remember first hearing it when I was about 8 years old, and it's by Graham Kendrick, and it's called The Servant King. It was number 120 in Songs of Fellowship. And every Sunday when I went to church on my own, no one else in my family came to church, just me. I went to church on my own, and I saw 120 on the hymn board, and I knew we were singing my favorite song. And there's a verse in it that said, come see, this is talk about Jesus, come see his hands and his feet. The hands that flung stars into space to cruel nails surrendered. And just took the idea that this infinite, huge God came to earth and died on a cross for me, which I think is incredible. Any final questions? I think I've used all the ones I've been messaged. Oh, someone's messaging me now. That'll come in or it won't. I did ask the question myself, why did God make the platypus? And I still don't know the answer to that. Maybe just God's got a great sense of humor and he's really creative. That's why he made the platypus. I think, sorry, the 3 dots are moving on my phone, so I'm assuming there's a question coming in. If you've got another question, type it in here. We'll call it a day in a minute. Oh, there it is. That's a great question. It took you a long time to type that. Is the Earth flat? Is the Earth flat? I'm going to test it. Hang on a minute. Well, my room's flat, but no. I know there's this crazy conspiracy theory right now about the Earth is not actually round, and all these tens of thousands of pictures that NASA have taken are all fake. It's all big government conspiracy. And if you drive to the end of the world or sail, you'll fall off or something. No, I mean, I'm not a scientist. I'm not a cosmologist, but I don't think the Earth is flat. I think this is slightly paranoid conspiracy theorists talking in slightly paranoid conspiracy theory ways. I know it. You guys have been absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much for joining me on this Grill a Christian Q&A. I'm sorry for some of my answers. Oh, excuse me, I just burped. There's a microphone right here and I'm burping. I know some answers are quite long-winded. And again, these are just my answers. I'd recommend digging into it. I want to plug a couple of things before I go. First off, there's going to be a Zoom meeting tomorrow night. I'm just going to grab the link for that super quick. Zoom meeting for anyone who wants to join us for Redefine or Reverb. Sort of we connect up together. Sorry, I'm just going to find this copy invitation. Okay, it's now in the comments. The Zoom meeting tomorrow night. So you can join us just to talk, and we'll talk about Easter. I think that'd be really, really important to do together. Why are you not sending? Oh, because it's too long. There you go. So there's our Zoom meeting. Please join us tomorrow night at 7 p.m. We'd love to see you. Also, www.eastermeanshope. Easter means hope. I think it's .com, but do check that out. There's some amazing stuff on there for Easter right now that you can share with your friends. Yes, I'm also putting together a YouTube playlist of Easter worship songs that you can connect with, and you can find that on the playlist section of the blog. You've been brilliant. Thank you so much. I will see you hopefully tomorrow night. God bless, guys. Good night. Happy Easter. Bye-bye.